Welcome to episode 140 of the Guardian 1 podcast. We record live Thursdays at 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 Eastern, right here on twitch.tv/Guardian 1 Network. My name is Remy, and tonight I am joined by Jez.
Good morning.
Agrios.
Greetings, Guardians.
Sharks.
Can't I just start the beta now?
Gray.
Good evening, everybody.
And very special guest, Goose from DIM.
Hey, everyone.
We are going to be talking about all things Destiny, but first, housekeeping.
Hello, Guardians. Thank you for listening to the podcast, however it is that you are choosing to listen. Be sure to follow Guardian 1 on Twitter at G1Net. That's G, the number 1, N-E-T. In addition, be sure to check out the Guardian 1 website at guardian1.net. If you want to send us an email, you can send it to feedback@guardian1.net. We also have a Bungie.net forums group. We utilize the forums for both comments and feedback, so be sure to join the conversations going on there. Big thank you to all those currently in the Twitch chat. As Remy said at the top of the podcast, you can watch the show live at twitch.tv/Guardian1 Network. We broadcast every Thursday at 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific. If you can't catch the live show, you can always find the podcast on iTunes, as well as upload it to the Guardian 1 YouTube channel at youtube.com/Guardian1 Network. Guardian 1 is a proud member of the Guardian Radio Network, so be sure to check out the Guardian Radio Network website at theguardiansofdestiny.com. There you'll find all of the different podcasts as part of the network, including the flagship podcast Guardian Radio. They broadcast every Monday night, 8:30 p.m. Eastern, 5:30 p.m. Pacific on twitch.tv/Guardian Radio. You can also follow their Twitter account at Guardians of D and their YouTube channel, youtube.com/Guardians of D. Other podcasts that are part of the Guardian Radio Network include Ghosts and Echoes, a podcast that contains a bit of fan fiction and audio versions of the Grimoire cards, as well as the Destiny lore-focused podcast called Focus Fire Chat. Once again, thanks for joining us on the podcast. I'll see you again next week.
This just in, anybody like me who was pronouncing it DIM for my entire life, basically. It's just DIM. So, Goose, tell me about who you are and what you do for DIM. I can't imagine that anyone listening to us does not know what this is, although they might also pronounce it DIM. So I'm glad that we're able to straighten that out right now. But what is it that you do at DIM, and explain a little bit about yourself. Oh, you're still muted, unfortunately.
Oh, just trying to be, treading on your calls.
Yeah, so right in with the rest of us.
I've been associated with the project for about 2 years. In the very beginning, I ported the very first prototype of DIM back in March of 2015 to version 3. So the basis of the client that we use today. These days, I do most of the community management for DIM. You'll see me posting on Twitter, working within GitHub with the other maintainers, so Utrol and Ben Hollis, and then some of the other coordinators like Delphi Actual on our translations team.
That's really excellent. I know that I am a huge fan of everything that DIM does. I would like to take some questions. Sharks, what questions do you have for Goose from DIM?
Oh, okay. So my biggest question, and this is probably one that you're not going to be able to really answer, but I want to see what your answer is anyways. Back in the early days, you were super excited about everything that was coming in. I mean, each iteration was amazing, and it has become this, go-to piece of equipment that you need to basically run Destiny as it is now. But we have Destiny 2 on the way, and so many things are changing. Are you worried? Do you have any insight? Has Bungie, kind of given you information of what you might have to deal with when Destiny 2 actually drops?
Honestly, no, they haven't given us any information. They have, they're working on some documentation. They're going to try to get it to us before release. It's still, 50-ish days away. So we don't need it now. But hopefully, maybe 30 days out, we'll start to get some documentation. because they're very busy right now. So we don't try to take too much of their time currently. Go make a great experience, and then we'll be there to pick it up day one. The most experience that we got was at Dre, the reveal event in Hawthorne. We were out there, myself and Ben Hollis. We got to play Destiny 2, and that was a really great experience. And so we got to see how some of the game has changed in terms of how it relies on armor for new stats like agility, recovery, and armor, which used to be maintained by your subclass, right? So, through that event, we got some insight, and we're thinking about how DIM can support players in that new environment. But it'll be pretty similar to what you see today with our loadout builder.
So how long do you think it will be until we can log in and start, using some of the main stuff that we all know and love with DIM?
Well, to get to a basic client available, we think within a week. So that's very minimal, just transfers, using all of our logic in terms of, with the existing rule sets for D1, right? Only one exotic at a time, etc. The rules that we follow inside of our engine for DIM, I think they're going to apply, and then if there's a place that we can relax them, they're just functions that we can enable and disable. So it's not, it won't be very clean code the first week, I expect. There might be some hacks to make everything work, but we'll have DIM up and running for D2 so that when you start the application, when you go to app.destinyitemanager.com, you'll have a choice. It'll present in D1 or D2. You make your selection, and it'll remember it, I think. That's the approach we're going. And so the next time you come back, it'll just go into the D2 client unless you want to switch out and go back to D1 for a throwback night.
Okay, I'm going to
So we are going to support. So yeah, we're going to support both Destiny 1 and Destiny 2 in the same client. It'll just have different. The URL will be just a little different. It'll be app.destinyitemanager.com/D1. Something like that.
Okay, I'm just going to ask one more question, then give it to everybody else because I don't want to steal anybody's questions. But do you have anything in the works that you plan on implementing for Destiny 2 that might be mind-boggling?
Yeah.
Good answer.
No hints?
I'll give you. It's not here. We're working on Alexa and Cortana support for DIM. So the idea we have is you can have your hands on the controller and you'll be able to say, "Hey Alexa, have DIM make room for my postmaster." And so it'll understand that through its skills and clear out your characters so that way you can grab everything from postmaster. Now that's a Destiny 1 experience. We don't know quite what life will be like in Destiny 2, but we're looking for similar ways that we can help you. And the genesis for this idea was, I saw a video of someone who was disabled, that was a wounded warrior, and they were essentially like hooked up to their controller, trying to control that experience, even though they had a disability, and they could not have that second screen experience like you get with DIM, right? So they have the vanilla Destiny experience, and somebody might be helping them, but they could not control it themselves. So we wanted to give them independence in some way, and through voice activation was the logical route. And so we partnered up with StackUp.org, and they're helping us out with some user stories to tell us how players play in spite of their disabilities, and then we'll be taking that and making sure that the DIM experience on Alexa and Cortana and Google now will help them. So that's something that's going to be pretty cool.
Sweet.
Yeah.
That is super cool. Every every step of the way, Dim has been an amazing piece of work, and hearing that is like, I don't know. I feel like it's like everything you add seems to be the icing on the cake, and then then something else comes out, like the weapons ratings, like that was the icing on the cake. But this is even better. Like this helps people who are unable to work in the environment like everyone else, but also this is something that everyone could use. Exactly. How excellent.
Streamers are going to love it, right? They can stay focused on chat and their screen. They're going to have their heads forward. They're not going to be taking it off, looking at the screen, to do their management of their items. They're going to be hands on the controller, looking at chat, talking to Dim, and playing the game.
That is fantastic. That is excellent. Jez, question or questions for Goose?
Wow. I want to ask, what's the weirdest hang up with certain items? Like, there's certain items that you just can't transfer over based off of the API. What's the weirdest things that you've come across?
Well, I mean, I wouldn't say anything's weird. It was kind of perplexing at first. Why couldn't we move some items like the runes, for example? And what we came to understand was, if you were going to go use a rune or the Siva objects that, in Archon's Forge, what players were doing was they were pressing the button on the controller, engaging the UI, starting the timer, and then with Dim, they were moving it off the character. The game thought it was still on, and once it proceeded, it would start the event and then try to delete something that didn't exist on the character anymore. And so they were preserving their items that way. Bungie turned that off in the metadata, and we respect it. When they do that, we'll make sure it doesn't happen.
I remember using Dim to transfer weapons away as you were deleting them, so that you could have no weapon.
Yeah,
they got rid of that.
Very dangerous, super dangerous to do. A lot of people lost items that way because, once again, the way the UI in Destiny works is once you start an action, whatever's underneath it when that action completes is what gets deleted.
Yeah, we used to do it with no weapons that we cared about in our inventory,
exactly.
So that nothing got moved over.
But what happens in players, it's not something they would realize, right? It doesn't come easy. But say like you're in the UI and you're spamming that Moto Light button, you're trying to buff something, okay? And at the same time, you're in Destiny, you're item manager, right? You're in Dim and you're trying to multitask and move things. Well, if you happen to move a material or a consumable and it shifts that around, the use button happens to be mapped to the delete button, and poof, all your weapon parts are gone. Okay, and I've heard of things like that before, and so you feel bad, but at the same time, we always tell people don't be doing things when you're interacting with your items in the game.
Sharks doesn't even need DIM to do that.
I knew that was coming up.
What happened?
I knew that was coming up.
He's deleted 3 stacks of 4,000 armor parts by accident going to click modes of light.
Yeah, you don't need to bring this shit up, okay? Seriously.
I think
the crazy thing is that he has 3 separate stacks of 4,000 armor parts, and he's like, oh well, there's another one when it happens. So of all the people it happens to, I guess he's the best one. But
I feel like it makes people feel better about their mistakes, Sharks, because I know I've never deleted 4,000 armor pieces, and it would be devastating for me too.
For me, it would be great if it was just Destiny Item Manager that screwed it up, because then I wouldn't feel so stupid. But it's just trying to do stuff fast. That's kind of like the whole point of having Destiny Item Managers, because you want to do everything. Get there. You don't want to sit around do anything and waste time. And so that's the easiest way to screw up. And I've done it multiple times. So.
Yeah. We try to make things fast in the app, for you, but really you got to stay out of the game state. I mean, you can be playing the game, but just stay out of your menus when you're manipulating Dim, because you can step on things. Plus, it modifies your game state, which we have to synchronize. So if you added items to your character while we're doing stuff, and then we'll try to put the 11th item, then we'll have to go into this failover logic where we move something off. It makes it more complicated for Dim to do its job when it encounters error. Now it's pretty good. We do a lot of work in terms of, if you're putting on a loadout and you have 8 things in that loadout, we'll make room taking things out of your character when we won't take the loadout we just put in. But yeah, you can make it go longer by being in your menus doing stuff. You can't let us be fast.
It's interesting. It's an interesting story because I've not been party to this kind of thing. Like, I'm not trying to move things around with the controller and then also my phone in my hand. So to hear this, like, all of this is new to me. I like how you phrased like maintaining their item. I think that's the term you used when you were saying, like, without deleting it, they're moving things around. Like that's all crazy. But very cool stories. You had more?
No, maybe it'll come back.
Jez, is that your question, or are you good?
Yep, that was the best I could come up with.
Excellent.
I'll say one thing. We, in the next version, have plans on making it even faster. So in the client that you have now, we would limit a transaction to be about 1 a second, because we didn't want to beat up Bungie's servers. I was always very sensitive to this fact, that there are, at high times, right, we'll have 1,400 clients firing against Bungie servers, moving things. When the game releases, it's like 8,000, like when there's a drop, for an update. So that's like 3,000 to 8,000, like within 15 minutes. And all of those clients are sending off messages. We limit them to one transaction a second for transfers and equips. Going forward, we're going to drop that requirement and just let it go as fast as it can until it errors, and then we'll do the 1 second rule after it errors, because there's a throttle that tries to slow us down. So anyway, the goal is to make loadouts really fast, very fast.
I love it.
I'm curious off of that. Will DIM run differently now that you don't have the last gen systems, or does it not really have anything to do with that at all?
Nothing to do with it. We expect the APIs to be kind of similar. So there's a transfer endpoint and an equip endpoint. We don't know what they're going to be named or what their signatures will be, but so we think everything will grossly be the same in D2. So that's why I think we can do it pretty quickly. Within a week, we'll have it up and running. After we play a couple missions.
I feel like when content drops, there's like this moment of silence where nothing is happening on Twitter, nothing is happening on YouTube, and it's like absolutely nothing. So I don't know. I think that's fascinating. All of these stories are fascinating. So if you come up with any other stories you want to share because they're along these lines, like finding out that you had to limit it because you don't want to hammer the servers, like this is all fascinating stuff. I have no idea how this works. And so hearing about this is really enlightening, and it's going to make me look at this application much differently now because I'm hearing all of this information. It's really great. Agrios, what's that?
I would say we just we care on both ends. We care about the user's items, and we care about Bungie's endpoints. We try to be good stewards of the resources we have. So I think we've been pretty successful.
I agree. It sounds like you're very respectful of the process, and that's another aspect that I didn't even think about. It didn't even occur to me that there would be some kind of etiquette involved there, but clearly there is. So that's really excellent. Agrios, question or questions for Goose from Dim?
Well, sticking along with this line of discussion that we have right here, right now, with releasing these restrictions on how fast you can do your loadouts and things. I mean, is this going to be quick enough that if I have a complete loadout set up that right in the middle of combat I can hit a button and bam, 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 have 3 new equipped weapons
Well, you can't do anything during combat, right? So you're limited. You can transfer things, but you cannot equip things when you're in a darkness zone or within combat. Okay. That's always been a limitation. It's a great limitation because it prevents people who have second screen experiences, from having an edge on other players. Like, if you're in Trials, it's round 3 and you can equip a rocket launcher exotic, that would be game breaking, because it levels the playing field and everybody has to go into the UI, manually move it. Like, if you want to do that and that's your skill, go for it. You're not going to be moving, right?
Right.
You won't be getting closer to heavy. But if you were able to use dim, you could be moving on heavy, do an automation, and so that's where it would be game breaking.
Are you concerned at all with lifting the throttle, that 1 second that one swap per second thing you have going on right now, that people would potentially use sites like yours to attack Destiny?
No, there's better ways to attack Destiny than using dim.
I don't know enough about it. That's why I was asking.
Yeah.
So was there a eureka moment one day that, like, an actual, like, specific event that inspired you to, like, go forth with this?
Well, in my case, I saw Destiny Item Manager just like everybody else did on Reddit, because Utroll had made this first version of it. And I don't know if you remember, but it was just like a screen of icons. And I was like, okay, he cracked the code. So the biggest issue, I've done work with Bungie's API with Halo Reach in the past, and then scraping XML endpoints in Halo 3. I've always had this kind of interest in working with it and working the data to present, to communities, interesting information or personal information to the user. But with Destiny, there was an issue with authorization, like giving me permission to access your data. There wasn't a great way to do it in the beginning. There wasn't a good, there wasn't an authorized way of getting access to your data. In February of 15, when they released the companion app and the ability to move it. So what we had to do, what Utroll did, was he made a Chrome extension, and he gave that Chrome extension a permission check saying, can we have access to Bungie.net? And so that was the magic, right? That gave us access to the sandbox and your cookie that we use to move your gear on your behalf. And the reason I was attracted to that was it allowed you to log out of Bungie.net, which would revoke DIM's access, so DIM would not work if you were logged out. It gave you a confirmation step, so when you installed DIM, it would challenge every user to say, hey, give DIM permission to use Bungie.net. So it kind of checked some boxes for me, and it made me comfortable participating. And yeah, that was it. Like, once I saw that, I was like, oh my goodness. So I reached out to Utroll that day and I was like, hey, would you like some help? And he said, yeah, great. And that was, the beginning, right? And so the body of my work was to re-architect his initial version, which was a prototype. It was written very fast, like in 4 days. It was very dense. And I just spread it out into individual components. And it was re-architected for Angular. And the goal that I had with the application was I wanted to make an environment where other programmers can come and make a contribution and in small, discrete ways, so it wouldn't have a lot of impact across the application. Because we were open source and we were going to remain open source, and I saw this vision of DIM that we can do some great things as individual contributors, but this app could really grow if there was a community of developers building it, and it's kind of become that.
That answer your question, Agrios?
Yeah, I had another though. So what is the strangest user, or what are the strangest or funniest user requests that you might want to discuss that you've had to deal with? or issues or user experiences?
The only thing that in the very beginning, we were getting a lot of requests to refresh the data like every 15 seconds. Because Bungie doesn't make any real-time information available, right? We can poll an endpoint and get all your data. But that endpoint is actually kind of expensive, and it returns a lot of data. And so we limit it to once every 5 minutes. To me, like a responsible time. Most of the, you're usually playing the game. You're concentrating on this, PvP experience that takes about 10 minutes to complete. If you made it 30 seconds, okay, it's going to refresh that endpoint 20 times, and it's pointless. You're wasting bandwidth. So that was the we'd get that request often, and I'd have to just keep pushing back on it. Like, no, that's not the way. If you want to refresh, press the refresh button, but we are going to do it every 5 minutes.
That good for you, Agrios?
Sure.
Excellent. This is all so fascinating to me, and I hope it is for everyone listening as well. And this is, basically all knowledge that I didn't know that I wanted to know. So thank you very much. Gray, question or questions for Goose from Dim.
So first question, Goose. How many people are part of the Dim team?
There are, so over the lifetime of the application, there's been about 50 contributors to the application, to the code base, not including designers, technical writers, our translation team. If you want to add all of them to it, it's probably closer to 70. Like 70 plus, somewhere in that range. Currently, we're right around 20-ish. And that includes about 10 translators. So our translation team that makes sure any update that we do, any new strings that we add to the app in terms of text that's custom for DIM, that has to be translated before we can do our release. And so we use services. I tweeted about it today. We were looking to close the gap on some Spanish translations that we needed. So we match all the release languages that Destiny has, so we can keep it native for all their speakers. And then for development, we have several contributors. We have Ben Hollis right now, who is totally leading the development effort for Destiny Item Manager for the past year. He he pretty much runs the coding of the app at this point. He works with a number of contributors reviewing code on GitHub. 48 Clocks. Do you guys remember an app called Percolator that showed up?
I do. I don't remember why.
Sounds familiar. The name sounds familiar. Yep. What did it
popped
do?
up. It would rate your gear, and so it was.
Take it?
It was a. Yeah, there was a. Yeah, well, so this is how I work. Percolator showed up, and it was primitive, but what it did was it had a built-in set of recommendations based upon reviews done by notables in the community. And so this 48 Clocks brought all this together, made an app, and then you can authorize, look at your gear, and just kind of do this handshake. And I was like, wow, that's a great app. I like that idea. I got in touch with them. And I said, hey, we really wanted something like this in DIM for a long time. And I'd like to see if you would want to contribute your app to our platform. We serve, 300,000 active clients plus our website, which I don't actually have numbers on right now. I got to go look at it. But I mean, overall, we've had well over 1.2 million Guardians use DIM. And so I was just saying, if you bring that here, you will make the lives better for all of these people that already use the app. Because discoverability is a very hard problem for applications. Good ideas can fade away just because people don't see them. And so that's my pitch. And he said, sure, I'd love to help. And so we worked with a partnership with Destiny Tracker. They help build a back end to support all the data, and 48 worked really hard on it and made a great contribution to DIM in the community. So I'm always looking for developers who have great ideas, and I like to elevate them. We're all open source, and so if anybody wants to hook their wagon to our train, we'd love to have them. So anyway, that's there's several more out there that do small additions to the application, but we're all on GitHub on our contributors list. So
Right.
Everyone should be have their moment. Every now and then I tweet out that link and let everybody know who does the work on the app.
Amazing. Now, is this a labor of love between all of the different service line teams, or your developers, your design team, your translation team? Is this is just donating time and talent, or is this a business that you guys run?
No, we're not a business.
So I don't see ads. I don't see
Nope.
Donate here. I never see you guys asking for anything like that. It purely seems like this is a service you guys provide to the community, which is an amazing service.
Yeah, and so for the longest time, we made it very clear that DIM is not a small business. I mean, we are not here to, enrich ourselves. I mean, luckily the application was able to run client side. It didn't need a big server backend to run. It was essentially free to run, and we all decided to just contribute our time to make lives better that play Destiny, right? This was our contribution to the community, and we're really proud of it. But we do have a way for the community to help the team, right? So we have a backer status for people who will give to us on it's called Open Collective. It's because we're open source. The way we handle tips that come to DIM, we didn't want it to go into any one person, right? Because it's a collaboration. So we use a service called Open Collective, and they act as an escrow for all the money that comes into the application. While it's held in escrow, we will submit expenses to it, and then the maintainers have to approve it, and then there's a cool down period, and then it gets paid out. And this works really well for us because they file 1099s for people who take payouts over a certain threshold. So they handle tax obligations. It's all above the fold. It's open. It's transparent. So we're really proud of working with Open Collective to handle our financial side of the application. And like I said earlier, we have now a website. We have Alexa coming up, and Alexa is going to require a server to run all the requests that come into it. They all have to be parsed. They do run on Amazon web servers. And so now we've been gently promoting our backers on Twitter, reminding people that we do have this Open Collective. My goal is to raise $6,000 in reoccurring backers, from reoccurring tips being given to Open Collective. And that's the way we kind of measure it. It's like annual revenue, essentially. So we want $6,000 to pay for the servers. That's roughly $500 a month. Mm-hmm. We're pretty close. We're right around $4,000 and some change. We've had some very generous donors giving these, large one-time donations. And then we have many, many people that just give $2 a month. And so we're very thankful for everyone that participates and supports the app. Nothing is never required. DIM will never be, feature locked because someone didn't back us or anything. It's always going to be what it is today. But because of those donations, those tips, they are enabling us to build Alexa, to support Wounded Warriors, to create innovative ways, I think, to interact with your Guardians that we're going to be pretty proud of. We're still working on some fun stuff in terms of loadout builders. There's always new features coming into it, but none of us take a salary. We don't. At most, what we'll do is if somebody makes a very notable contribution to DIM, I always like to give them a very small payout and say, hey, we know it took a lot of time to build this. Take your spouse out to dinner on DIM, get a nice bottle of wine and have a good meal, and just tell them thank you for letting you work on the app. Because we know that, even like with my wife, she watches the kids while I do my DIM tasks, and so it's always we always get great support from our families when we take the time to work on the app. And so we're always very cognizant of that from those who are contributing.
That's absolutely fantastic. And I honestly, I can't wait to rename my Alexa so her keyword is ghost instead of Alexa. And I can tell my ghost to put me into farm mode, and DIM will change my whole, loadout platforms and logic. I love it.
Yep.
It's going to be great.
There's actually pretty interesting DIY things where if you can make a DIY ghost resin, you can put the Alexa hardware in it. So
that's fancy.
yeah. I mean, we have some ideas around, we're not going to sell these things. I mean, this isn't, this isn't the profit side, but if you're a DIYer, if you're a hacker, we might be able to figure out how to get some plans made for you to, 3D print things and, go and get some Arduino hardware or, whatnot, make something cool.
Heck, just put a little echo, putting a little echo in it would work pretty fantastic too. I like it. Well, that kind of wraps up my questions. And I mean, I'm just even more encouraged and would, even more excited to support your efforts and the whole Destiny Inventory Manager community, because you guys just seem like such good people that are willing to go above and beyond anything that would be expected, and are certainly exactly what we would expect to come out of such a positive community like Destiny, right? I don't see tools like this being crowdsourced and developed and people sacrificing time and energy and talent in other gaming communities necessarily. So, I mean, I think we certainly can hang our hat as Destiny Inventory Manager as one of those things that can come out of a very positive gaming community. And so I thank you guys for that.
Yeah, our pleasure. I mean, it's, 5 players, 4 players.
Yeah, it's really fantastic. I mean, it is, without a doubt, Destiny community overall in every aspect is more fantastic than any other community that I've ever witnessed myself. And this is up against even Bungie's previous communities with Halo. Like, Halo had a really great community, and it pales in comparison to what Destiny has brought. And it's amazing that so many people can devote so much, a little bit here and a little bit there, and it's for the greater good, and it's for gamers by gamers. I'm really just blown away by all of the everything that I've heard so far. I did not know I wanted to know all of this, and I'm super excited about this. I would like to know, as long as Grey Ghost is done. Grey Ghost, you're done?
Yep, go right ahead.
Excellent. I'd like to know more about what you did with Halo 3 and Reach, and also, is there anything that you're looking forward to maybe that Bungie will pull from these past things? Because I know that they've always had this API, and I've always wanted to mess with it. I've always wanted to kind of play around with programming, but I just have so many hobbies that pull me in so many different directions. I feel like in order to start playing with an API would require a fairly large, at least initial investment, not to mention upkeep on, all of these different ways of doing things. So tell me a little bit more about, the Halo 3 and Reach that you did. And is there anything there that you'd really like to see pulled forward?
For Halo 3, I created just a small engine that would parse Bungie.net to pull your PvP statistics. So that was it wasn't an application. It was the modules that go into applications to make them work. And so my goal for that was to create a small. I wanted to make it easier for people who had great ideas, build them. So that was like my goal. So I was creating this kind of the underpinning of it to give them the data. And And so you would never have seen my work in Halo 3. In Reach, I participated in a group on BNet that was doing work on API, much like what we use today, but for Halo Reach. And I did all of the ASP.NET documentation for consuming those endpoints with WCF, which all programming terms. Sorry, but I did a lot of documentation on the wiki, so that way other developers would be able to read it, understand it, and then make experiences. So once again, just kind of going back to like where my particular role often ends up in projects is enablement. My role with DIM was re-architecting it so that it would be easy for other people to contribute and push it forward. I love doing enablement work. It's kind of what I do with my day job, and I treat DIM kind of like a workbench where I can get better personally. I use it to apply new techniques in JavaScript programming and see how they work in the real world, and I'll take it back to work. So DIM for me is definitely one way that I stay current with the latest technology, so I can always kind of be abreast when all these younger developers are who have all this free time in the world, right? And I'm over here like taking my kids to soccer practice, making dinner, and it's too busy to even play.
Right. All right. I definitely hear that. I haven't started taking them to soccer yet, but that's just because they're too young at this point. Is there anything that you see that you would be able to do from this API in Destiny that doesn't really fit in with DIM, but is just really cool that you would like to play with? Like if you had free time on top of already not having any free time for the things that you want to do already, is there any aspect that you could dig in there, anything that you found that you're like, oh man, if I had another copy of myself, I would love to do this?
Well, I have, so my story for that is we maintain a Slack for developers. All right, so it's the DIM Slack, but it's where we do our collaboration for the programming side. But what I wanted to do was bring more people in the community into that group, because I saw an opportunity where in the very early days I saw someone make something really cool on Reddit, and I was like, hey, come over here, let's chat, join us on our Slack, and we can share war stories, right? And I just kept doing that. And so I've invited, I want to say like 40 apps into our Slack.
Wow.
And it's the who's who amongst the Destiny app community that participate in that. It's a daily thing when we're always there talking about what's going on, and I get to see all the cool work that people do, right?
That's awesome.
And it's stuff that will never see the light of day. I mean, it's not coming anytime soon. I mean, there's one developer named Lowlines who's done some incredible documentation work. I mean, if there is an app developer on Destiny right now, they're using resources that Lowlines has created, but he'll never get any fame out of that. He made a contribution to the Destiny community that the app developers use to make their contribution, which then you consume. Like, he's way down there in the ecosystem. But without Lowlines, our jobs would be incredibly harder. So I always try to make a point to talk about Lowlines whenever I can. But he's actually doing some work right now with animations and the skeletons of characters. So like if you ever go to Bungie.net and you look at the armory, you can see like these 3D representation of gear that you can spin. Uh-huh. And you can do it on the companion app as well. Well, he has refactored that, and now that's coming to DIM.
Oh, that's excellent.
He's gotten so much work done on it, and it's open sourced, and he's going to make it available for us. And we're really excited about getting that feature into the application. We'll probably end up doing it for D1, and then we'll see how D2 is shaped, and then we'll we'll look about adding that. But yeah, so he's done some great work, and it's fun to like sit back and kind of watch that happen. I do not understand anything about 3D, in terms of like Maya, or like how to make the full image with the texture on it and how it all gets shaped. I don't. I mean, it's attractive, it's interesting, but I don't have the time to learn it, and it's fun to watch somebody else grok it. And he's definitely got it. I mean, I'll ask him like, so what does this word mean? Oh, okay. I don't really get it. I get it. Like, because there's so much to creation, right? I mean, look at Bungie. I mean, there's so many people. I mean, 600 plus ish. I mean, I don't know. It's a huge number. 100, maybe 800, and they create a game, right? But there are people, I imagine, in that company that don't. I mean, once you get above a certain number, it's hard to know what one side is doing compared to the other.
Absolutely.
You got artists, and you got programmers, and engineers, and you got translation teams, and program managers, and producers, and community, and all of these people work together, smash it, hopefully in a way that it all meets really well, and then release this incredible experience. And they have to do it by a certain date, right? I mean, that date is set in stone. They have to meet it. And so it's always, I'm incredibly impressed by that, the work that they do, and how they can land the amount of content that goes into it. I mean, once you've made a game and you realize how much math is in it, it's like,
absolutely.
I mean, it is all math. Like when you get down into it, I mean, it's all math. I mean, I've tried to make a few games in my time, and you start reaching way back into all your, calculus-based physics, algebra-based physics, just trigonometry, geometry. I mean, you're like, SOHCAHTOA. And it gets even crazier when you start thinking about graphics and you're looking at matrices and how do you do matrix multiplication? I mean, quaternions. I mean, that'd be a word that'll scare everyone. So
if we knew what it was, it might be scary.
There you go. The word of the day. Go look up quaternions and look, do quaternion math and see if it's group associative. Yeah, I have a mathematics degree, and so this is kind of my background.
Let's see. Jelly Belly wants to know if you've ever received any kind of crazy hate mail.
Oh, you know what? No. That's actually something I like, to talk about every now and then. Nobody ever is. I mean, don't start.
Yeah.
But no, we've never gotten any kind of hate mail. I mean, it's been incredibly positive. Yeah, and I think in part, I mean, we project ourselves, I think, in a way that, we're not very salty, I don't throw a lot of shade. We're a very positive presence, and that's, I mean, do you follow our Twitter?
Yes.
So one of the things I did with our Twitter account was I project a very STEM-oriented presence on the internet. We talk about Destiny and Destiny Item Manager, but I'll talk about rockets and NASA and interesting things that we're doing in space. Because, I mean, I've always thought, if I ever had a platform that people were interested in, I would try to use it for good. You know what I mean? Like, and so I use, and this is just for me, right? Personally, I use Destiny Item Manager in its presence to push STEM slightly, right? Just to kind of, if there's like, if there's a kid out there that wants to become a programmer, or wants to take an interest in science and technology, in part because of the participation that they've had with us, I mean, that's pretty cool to me. So
I definitely agree. So you're following what Craig Hardgrove is doing, right?
Oh, of course, yeah. Craig and I tried to make an ARG for Destiny 1. You ever heard of an ARG?
Yes.
Yeah, so we tried to make an ARG for D1. It was pretty elaborate, pretty interesting story.
Oh, man.
It makes me so sad that we didn't pull the trigger on it. But yeah, he worked with us for about 8 months just on like his part of the story. And he was big into telling stories back then. Now he's busy working on Lunar HMAP.
Yep. Yeah, and so, that's all fascinating. I love Craig. I really miss really miss his presence in the community, and he's definitely somebody that I want to have on the show to discuss his previous work with Destiny and also what he's doing now, because it's fascinating.
That'd be great.
It's really
I'll
excellent.
Watch it. I'll tune in.
But I don't want to bother him. Like every now and then I'll send him a message and say, hey, like I think what you're doing is excellent. We miss you. See you sometime. Can't stop progress there. Let's see. I had another. GATR. Oh, you know what's funny is I also pronounce ARG ARG. I wonder if it's just me, or if anyone else calls them ARG as well. And if that is the reason I called DIM DIM. Let's see.
As long as you don't call them GIFs, I'm good.
Yeah, you won't catch me doing that. Let's see. GATR, or Gator, as it looks like, wants to know what Goose does when you're not doing DIM.
Just working around the house. Just him. I just work around the house and play with the kids. I have my day job. But once that's done, my wife always has projects. I built my kitchen table. I do woodworking or play with my clan. That's always fun. Like right now, I'm on a Terraria kick.
Yeah, Terraria is awesome.
Yeah, my kids are playing a lot of Terraria, so we've been playing a lot together. I play PUBG with my clan mates, getting that PC experience ready for Destiny 2. Those are the fun things. But yeah, just your house always needs something new done in it, right? So you'll generally find me, cleaning up rooms and making them pretty. Maybe one day I'll sell the house. But yeah, no, just a middle-aged guy trying to keep his wife happy. How about that?
I like that. How many kids?
3. Yeah, I got a girl, boy. They keep me pretty busy. Yeah.
Excellent.
They don't play any Destiny though. They're still too young.
Oh, that's wait till you get there. I have boy, and I actually would 2-man the first couple sections of Crota's End with my 6-year-old. Like he was 6 at the time, and we would just 2-man those sections. Like he would jump to the top of that tower, and I'd fly across. Lots of fun.
Yeah, no, I'm the parent that's like, my oldest is 9, and I'm like, nah, we're not gonna play Destiny yet. But she's not far away from it, But Terraria is about where we've taken it so far, and Pac-Man. We'll play a lot of Pac-Man. I have my old Atari, so we all play with that.
That's really great.
Yeah, because they got to remember how much it sucked when I was young. This is all we got, right?
No, absolutely. That was always my plan, was to release games to my children at what age I was when they came out. Like you're in Super Nintendo age right now. Live with it.
Right.
Like here's your options.
Oh, they love the Wii. Playing Mario. But I grew up with Atari. Eventually these conversations turn into when I was this age. But I remember really young, probably 6-ish, probably somewhere around that age, maybe 8. I was sitting on the floor with my dad playing a game called River Raid.
Yeah.
And Mega Mania. Mega Mania was great. And I just remember passing the controller back and forth with him on Asteroids, and that being like one of those memories I've kept of just him and me sitting on the floor with that old TV. And in fact, I grew up in Hawthorne where the Dre event was, like 2 miles away from where it was held. So anyway, I wouldn't say gaming was like part of my life. It was it was there, and I remember having great experiences playing games. But now I do some of those things with my kids and try to teach them how to share, work together.
That's excellent. That's excellent, and really that's an entire lifetime right there.
Yeah,
So-
exactly. Exactly.
I'm doing my show. This is the only one that doesn't play Destiny yet.
Oh,
He's still a little young. He grabs the controller every now and then. Look at, say hi.
You'll get some hands-on time.
Right. He'll grab the controller and say mine, and I'm like, no, not yours. All right, go see mommy. Good night to you, boy. I love you. Sweet dreams. Okay, so one last question, and then we will move on. I'm curious to know if you've come across like a weapons rating that really stands out to you as funny or helpful or anything along these lines. Like I imagine that you've seen quite a few, or is also side question. Has there been anything like inappropriate? Do you have any kind of way of going in there and taking out something that's not helpful or rude or appropriate?
No. I've seen funny stuff. I mean, I couldn't name anything offhand. People are pretty witty, and I'm generally very happy with the response in the community. So people like to make their mark, and they like to be funny, and that's great. I like it when they do that. And there have been some people that have been sarcastic and self-promotion. We see things like that come through, and we've taken a pass on the data before. We IP block people.
Oh.
So, if you abuse the thing that we've created for the community, you will not be able to leave any more comments. And you might end up having to go to the tower to get your gear.
That's awesome.
I mean, I do not feel bad about doing that. I mean, we've given the community the opportunity to bring content into DIM and to give them a voice, and those that abuse it, do they need to use it?
It makes sense to me.
See, I was gonna ask one last question, but I think with a couple of the things that you've said, like how you like to use it to promote certain things and doing stuff like this, it probably wouldn't work with what my question is going to be. But have you guys ever thought about basically talking with Bungie and saying, hey, you obviously are trying to do this app. We've got one that's like 10,000 times better. Let's conglomerate. Maybe they would pay for like servers and stuff like that. I
would say a couple things with that. I mean, just my experiences, as working in business, once you open the door, then you have to figure out who to say no to and who to say yes to.
Right.
Definitely.
And that's not easy. The second part of that is there are people out there that don't trust third-party experiences. And that won't change. And so we don't, we make a good pitch, and we think that, having support of the streaming community and notables that vouch for us, a lot of people are very open to using DIM with their gear, right? I mean, for items that they've worked so hard to attain, I was very nervous in the very beginning to move my Gallahorn when I was building the app. I mean, you have no idea, right? The first time I moved that through there, I was like, all right, I trust it.
Right.
But there's a lot of people that want a first-party experience.
Yeah.
They need it. They don't want to use anything else. And so Bungie's Gear Manager and the companion app are perfect. They're great for that. I mean, they deliver a baseline experience that is going to work. I mean, DIM errors. We sometimes can't get a transfer through, or our loadouts fail in the transfer.
Yeah, but so does Bungie's. Come on.
No.
Yeah.
It's fine. But I mean, it's a great baseline experience.
Yeah.
That achieves goals. Now, it also created great opportunity.
Yeah.
And we've taken it and we've done good things with it. We've created a space for ourselves. Yeah. I've always said if Bungie closes the gap and delivers great item management in game, I would throw my hands up in the air and say, great, we appreciate it. But I still think there will always be a role for us in the game, because we have loadout builder. You know,
Yeah.
we do min-maxing your gear. You tell us what you want to do, and then we'll help you populate your loadout with the set that you need for that activity.
Yep.
And that's the thing that we're looking at for D2. Now that items are going to drop fixed, there won't be random rolls anymore. It's going to create a pretty interesting experience. I think it's going to be very beneficial. And so what we're going to try and do is we now have the activities tab in the app. If you're using the beta shows it. We haven't published it yet. I think it'll go out this Friday. So you can see the activities that you haven't completed for the week. We'll do the same thing for D2. But then we want to match the weekly activity with metadata, such as the burn, what's the elemental burn, if there are these things, right? We don't know, but we're forecasting. I want to create, and this is part of the community. This is something I want from the community to help us with. Is we want to create metadata around activities that would say like we'll do let's do Vault of Glass, for example. There's many things you need throughout that experience to complete it. You want Galahorn, you want a high impact sniper, you want sleeper stimulant, and so those are the meta weapons for that. So if the weekly raid was Vault of Glass, we would suggest next to it a loadout that would have that gear, those items, and your Vault of Glass armor items, and so we would look at what you have and populate it. So we're just trying to develop a config, a piece of data for every activity that says, this is minimum light level, this is the burn, these are useful perks that help, and these are common weapons that are used in these activities. And then we can look at all that you have and then try to assemble a loadout that favors that config information in a way that gives you the appropriate armor, agility, or recovery that you want. So essentially it's loadout builder for activities. That's the goal.
Awesome.
That's really fantastic.
Yeah, we just want to help the average player. I mean, at the end of the day, most people don't know what perks are. They don't know what they do. I imagine they think this gun sounds amazing. I want to go play with it, right? But it might not be a great gun to use. Yeah. So we're just trying to guide players to say you might be passively better if you use this loadout. And so that's. If there's a big body of work that we're trying to do, it's definitely around making players better passively. It's still up to them to pull the trigger and point it, but we want to help you on the way any way we can.
Well, and it's addicting for new people too. And that's like I got my wife plays, and I was like, oh well, you gotta put this on your tablet. You wanna go in here and you gotta look for tier 12 stuff. And she goes, well, how do I do that? And I go, well, there's this great little thing here. It's called Destiny Item Manager, and it tells you all that stuff. And she now she's like addicted to it, and it's just getting the word out to have people see that, and everybody will start doing it. It's awesome stuff.
Yep.
And I want to. I'm going to say this before Remy steals it, and then I'll shut up for a while. I personally want to thank you, one, for finally making an app for Android. I love that there was an app instead of having to go on computers. But the other thing is everything that you and the entire group does as a whole with Destiny Item Manager, because it is just an awesome piece of work, and I just wanted to make sure I said that.
Oh, thank you. I'll share it with the team.
Share this with the team also. I feel like you're totally right. Some people do want a first-party experience, but I really don't think of DIM as a third-party experience. Like I feel like everything, like you say, like you guys all carry yourself a certain way. and I feel like it's always been professional. Like I don't have any doubt that my weapons and gear are going to be transferred, even when there's an error, like Shark said, even the main app errors at some point. So me personally, I don't feel like DIM is a third party effort, even though it clearly is. And going back to what you were saying with, once the door is open, who do you say yes to? Who do you say no to? Bungie has made mention time and again that they are tempted to begin to give people parameters that they wish to work in, but every time they're tempted to work with the community on something, they always come back to the fact that it's better and only going to work the right way if it's done by them for them. Like the community has to do it on their own, because otherwise, it's not the same thing. Like if Bungie came to work with you on something, where do they say no? Where do they draw the line? And also, as long as you're doing it and you want to do it, that's on you. Like there is no expectation on their end that you'll continue doing this. And that means that it's all powered by you, and it's all powered by the team, and it's all powered by people who want to do this. There is no outside influence. There is just this drive to want to help, just this drive to want to create something amazing. So that's all fantastic. This is all fantastic. Anybody else have any questions for Goose before we move on? Okay, I was curious to know, Goose, what is your favorite primary and also class and subclass, please?
Well, these days I use my Hawksaw. I have a perfectly rolled Hawksaw. It's amazing. It melts people.
What does that look like? What is the perfect roll in Goose's world?
It kills them within a second. No, it's what is it? Perfect balance, counterbalance, 28 scope. Hold on. I'll look it up in the app.
It's interesting that you like that 28 scope, because I've been trying to get the DIS 47 with the 57 scope, because I prefer the 57, but I'm forced to use the 28 because that's I feel like that's the next best one. But I feel like I really do love the 28. I just really want that 57. I don't even know that I've ever seen a 47 with full auto with the 57. So
here's my roll. It's the SPO 28, and it's got perfect balance, counterbalance, and rifled barrel.
Awesome.
Wow.
And so this thing, whenever I play my PlayStation characters, and because they don't have it, I miss it. Because it's such a good gun in PvP. But I'll tell you, year one, I was all Vision of Confluence.
Yeah, me too. Vision
super
of
stable scout
amazing.
rifle.
Yeah,
it's great. I love it. And there were still better weapons out there. I wasn't really playing PvP, to the extent that I could. I was just kind of having fun playing games with friends. But in year 2 and year 3, I started tracking closer to where the beneficial weapons were. My KD went up. Using DIM helped with that. So yeah, this Hawksaw is good. And generally you'll find me. Sometimes I'll be throwing firebolts as a warlock. Most often, I'm a Sunsinger, but Void Walkers really. It's equivalent. Void Fang vestments look great.
They do. They absolutely do.
Having another accent bolt doesn't hurt. So that's generally me. I'm a warlock, and I like these pulse rifles. But I could never get my hands around a hand cannon that felt great. It's just not my jam.
It was not my jam for the longest time, but the game kept throwing these really great AS Lunas at me.
Really?
And at some point, I just gave in. Like I just saw everyone talking about it, and I always kept the really well rolled ones. I couldn't get my mind around a hand cannon, but the AS Luna really brought me out of my shell, and it's fantastic. Like I am a DIS 47 guy. Like I love my 47, and luckily for me, the great roll that I got came on both systems through Banshee. Like I was able to get it on both systems. So when I play, it's basically mirrored on both systems. But recently, I've been using that AS Luna in PvP, and it's amazing because you do have a pretty good range, but as people get closer to you, it's just easier to hit them. It's fantastic. It's a lot of fun. So if you have a chance to throw around an AS Luna, I suggest giving it a chance. For the longest time, I ran the DIS 47 with the Trespasser, and I don't change to my Trespasser now because, like I said, the closer they get, it's just they fit right into my reticle. Like I just shoot them.
I think my D1 days are numbered, man. I saw the Destiny 2 client load up on my PlayStation today. You know what I mean? It's like the beta's here, you know, and it's I'll be really interested in seeing our usage numbers after the beta, whether they go up or down. I mean, I imagine they're going to go up just before launch, and everyone's kind of getting back into Destiny and, you know, shaking off the dust, getting used to playing the game again.
Totally.
You know? But yeah, I mean, I'm really looking forward to next week and you know, getting back into playing some Destiny with friends and with the community. I do plan on making myself available to play with people. So, you know, we'll be on our Discord. By the way, we have a new Discord out for DIM. I think it's on our pinned tweet. So people are welcome to join. We'll be kicking off some LFGs. So if you guys want to play, look me up next week.
I will be there.
I'm on Xbox and PlayStation. So
sweet, as am I. As are really everyone who knows what's up.
Will you also be on PC?
I will be on PC.
Outstanding.
I have to, right? I got to make sure, you know, the app will work on all platforms. So I will have characters on every platform. I will main Xbox with my friends. I mean, I play the game to play with friends, right? Don't we all?
Yeah.
So all my friends are on Xbox, and I will play there, and hopefully with a Scorpio, and maybe if my wife lets me buy a 4K TV.
I think it's funny. I think it's funny that you called it Scorpio still. Are you not a fan of the 1X, or are you just
muscle memory? I like code. I like code names. Code names are fun.
I thought Scorpio was great.
Much better than what they came up with.
Yeah,
I wouldn't criticize them for it. I mean, honestly, I don't care what they call it. I just want to make sure that it looks great, right? And so I call it Scorpio just because I like calling it Scorpio.
I think it's going to be insanely confusing to the non-gamers. Like, we're all going to figure it out and be okay with it, but the whole Xbox, is this for Xbox One or Xbox One X, or it's
right.
going to try bombs and dad's nuts.
I think they'll do just fine. It's the whole messaging I've seen so far is it plays on Xbox One, Xbox One S, and Xbox X. You know, it's like you're getting different tiers. I think it's going to be fine. And, that's why I have no hesitation. I mean, my kids are going to inherit my one.
Right.
Because right now they're playing on my 360 that carried me for years. And I'm going to get Scorpio, and it's just going to hang out with me. In the basement,
So Goose, you mentioned briefly that you're going to be testing to make sure that DIM works on PC. Since this is now going to have to play with BattleNet, do you think that there's going to be more hurdles, or maybe even more? We don't know what the back-end architecture of those integrations look like.
No, it's no different than.
You don't think there's going to be any difference with it?
No, because the data is stored on Bungie servers. Mm-hmm. At the end, I think BattleNet's just like Xbox Live and PlayStation Network, right? It's an ecosystem that's secure, but the game still runs off data coming from Bungie servers, and that's the data that we interact with. And so when we manipulate it, it sends notifications to the game to update. Not from our client, but from Bungie servers when we manipulate it.
Sure.
So it's not going to make any difference. I mean, it'll be fine. We'll be good to go. I mean, everything that works as long as it works on Bungie's side, on their client, it'll work on ours. That's kind of the way it'll go. So I'm so excited about PC version of Destiny. I've played it. I love it. It's amazing. It's beautiful. A lot of frames. Well, I don't get into the controversy much. They're all great experiences. But if you want a very big, throw a bunch of hardware at it and that's your jam, it's there. You know what I mean? And it's good. I look forward to playing it. But, I play, like I said earlier, I play for my friends. And so that's where I'll be. I'll be on Xbox. Hanging out.
Sweet. Excellent. All right, now seems like a great time to move to the news. Agrios.
Wait, Remy.
What?
Goose was gonna leave.
Yep, I gotta drop off and go do some my chores before I go to bed.
Damn it, Sharks! I was hoping he would just melt into this next section too.
I can. If there's something you want to talk about, I can talk about it. But I gotta.
Yeah, I don't want to keep.
11:30, and I still have to do my house chores.
Yeah, I don't want to keep you as much as I want to keep you. We still have a ton to talk about. The DIS is making it into Destiny 2. I saw gameplay of it on that Warlock section, and I think it was the 43, but it looks all beat up and cool looking. I'm excited about that. I have so many questions, like what are the other, you can use an aggressive and a defensive super on Sentinels. What does that look like on the Warlock? What does that look like on the Hunter? So these are all excellent things that we're about to discuss. But definitely I understand that you got to get going.
I will tune in and listen to the podcast to find out.
Excellent. Well, it's been really great having you here. At the end of the show, we always do a shout out. So is there a person or something that you would like to shout out before you go?
Well, it may be cliche, but I just want to thank the Destiny community. It's pretty special. I'm very happy to be a part of it, and I'm happy to have made my mark in some way through working on DIM. And so I'm just, very happy that people have enjoyed it and have given back to the application through contribution. It's been a two-way street. So yeah, that was very broadly. The Destiny community, it's amazing.
Definitely. And you know what, it may be cliche, but I do it all the time because I just feel like at some points overwhelmed with how supportive and excellent it really is. So it's a good shout out. We would be nothing without it. I did want to add before you leave that you've been an excellent representative of all of the people who have worked on DIM. And I feel like you've done a great job really getting the word out about the behind the scenes things that we don't see that are fascinating. Everything that you brought tonight was fascinating and like I said, a great representative of all of those people. So thank you very much for joining us tonight.
And before you take off, I wanted to say a personal huge thanks because my Destiny early days in particular, when you first became more than just a place to check for items, when you added all the extra stuff to it, saved me so much time in doing things and everything like that. So just massive thank you for improving my Destiny experience.
If you go to our website, so if you go to DestinyItemManager.com, there's a little link at the very bottom of it that says time saved with DIM. Check it out, because we guesstimate that, if you remember year 1 to year 2, you would spend 15 minutes, people going to the tower, swapping characters, and then forgetting something and swapping characters again. And it was just I wanted to play at 9. It's 9:25. Why am I not playing yet?
Right.
And so you're talking to some real pack rats here. So
yeah, exactly, right. So now you're trying to funnel your stuff through this one slot, right? So you put something in, take something out, put something in, take something out. It becomes tough, right? It's actually a big math problem. And so, that was.
Everything is math.
So everything is math. That's actually one of the issues. If you want to hear about one thing that's kind of difficult, so you have 10 slots on your character, right? You have 9 inventory, 1 equipped, and then you have 3 of those, and you have a vault which everything has to move through, and that vault has a limit on it, 72 items or 108 now. Okay, so some of the math that we do on DIM is we look at these sets and we try to move things around in such a way that it's close, right? So everything moves through the vault. If the vault's full, then we got to make something open on another character. But then you have to think, all right, the vault services 3 different item types. You have primary, secondary, special, and heavy that go into one store. But I can only move things out into that particular type, right? So what's my set here, and how do my sets overlap in a way that I can make a transaction that's close to my character? You're going to get into some set math, trying to optimize things. It's all about math. So kids, stay in school. Want to write an data manager when you grow up? There's a lot of math involved in terms of trying to optimize transactions and find the appropriate place for an item, and also try to find a similar item. One of the things you may not know about DIM is if you take the equipped item and drag it off, we put something in that spot, right? It was one of those, like, I don't call it an Easter egg, but it was just like one of those interesting things, right? If you can drag things to equip, but what if I drag my equipped item off? What should happen?
That's excellent.
We wrote logic in the app that would source an item that was similar to what you had. Because the idea behind it was you had an exotic, and you were trying to do some work, and you need to take the exotic off so that you could put another exotic on. So if you take the exotic off, we will source an item similar to the exotic. Perks, and we're looking, right? But it has to be close to you, right? Because I don't want to source it from a hunter that's got to go through the vault and then come to you. It takes too long, So I'm looking for something close in terms of distance from the character, and then put that in. Those are the things that we think about when we work on the app. It's not just moving things around. It's
math.
It's optimized. It's math. It's not scary, but it's math.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much for joining us this evening, and I'm definitely looking forward to having some playtime with you come Destiny 2 beta.
I'll be there. Thank you all. It was a good chat. I enjoyed talking about all the old stories.
And we love hearing them. Thank you very much.
Cool. Y'all have a good night.
Have a good one.
Bye, Goose.
All right. Agrios, what do you got for us? Because I want to talk about that DIS, whatever that DIS was. I'm pretty certain it was the 43. It was firing pretty slow. It looked beat up and awesome. You know what? I'm going to have a problem in Destiny 2, and it's going to be the same problem I had in Destiny 1, and that's going to be all of this awesome gear. Basically, every single thing I've ever seen in all of these reveals looks fantastic. You know what one of my go-to things is going to be? Is the weapon that we see Zavala using in his background video. That thing looks so cool. Uh-oh. We lost Sharks.
He'll be back.
No, we just stretched around. Oh, wait, yeah. How about that?
He was having some technical issues. He said he's just going to sign off and sign back in.
Got it.
Should we, well, the screens are all screwed up on the Twitch. Should we just maybe shut down and reactivate, or is that good? Oh, we lost Jez.
We don't want to split the feed.
I just moved.
We don't want to split the feed.
Oh, we didn't lose Jez. The screen just shifted all around and confused me.
So, oh my goodness gracious. Before we move on, I just wanted to say how freaking awesome it is to be able to choose between an offensive super and a defensive super. One of the things that's just the biggest bummer about being the Defender Titan is that that's it. You just have this bubble, and then you can offer an additional attack bonus, but I feel like that's not nearly as exciting as running around and punching things. So the idea that I can tap the super buttons and go into this offensive super, or I can hold down the buttons and then I can use the Ward of Dawn in addition to being able to choose like a smaller shield or a taller shield. Like This is fantastic. Do we know what this looks like on the other characters? Do we know what tapping the button does on the Dawn Blade?
Nothing. It actually
doesn't-
just activates the super like normal.
So Sentinel gets these two sweet options, and these other characters don't get anything. That doesn't seem right to me. It seems
Well, to our
like
knowledge, they haven't even necessarily talked about all of the subclasses, or have they? But
That's what I'm
Well,
saying.
we've played them, and like no one's like, oh, if you tap these two buttons while you're dark bleeding, you'll do this.
That's
no, I'm
exactly
talking
what
about
I'm
Night Stalker, Stormcaller, and those ones that they haven't mentioned at all, that we don't know if they really exist or not.
Totally. I mean, I feel like this you would be getting ripped off if you were playing one of these other characters. Like I feel
But wait
like
a minute, you were just talking about how you used to feel ripped off in your Bubble Titan because you had no options other than that defense, even though he's indispensable in so many encounters.
no, absolutely, definitely indispensable in so many encounters, but it's not as fun. It's not as exciting. I've put down the bubble, and these other people are throwing hammers. These other people are throwing giant Nova bombs. I feel like Bungie is making a mistake if they do not add a secondary super to these other
I
subclasses.
think you should look at it this way. There are only 2 supers that are actually good on bosses. That's Bubble Titan and Night Stalker.
I know, but I'm talking about fun, Jez. I'm not talking about getting the job done, which is very important. And
Well,
I have many
The
times.
problem is with the
been
other
bubble
ones, you
broke.
just don't use them because there's nothing to use them on. Like
I don't know.
like you're only going to use it on trash, and that's it, because you can't use it on bosses. However, the bubble and the Night Stalker, you use it on bosses because it helps take down the bosses.
It's true. Gray, do you have input on this?
I mean, a little oversimplification, because there are certain strats that will emphasize the use of other supers. Sometimes it makes the encounter a little more difficult. I would say probably with the new Crota, the Nighthawk is a little bit easier in terms of taking down Crota and the Oversoul at the end of some of those encounters, and you don't really use
I would
your
agree with that.
tether. So, I mean, some of them, yeah, you can. And then we see some of these videos where you've got like a bunch of self-res warlocks, using Touch of Flame on bosses and using that to stack up damage. So I think there's ways to do it, but we do fall into certain ruts where, yes, Bubble Titan, tethers, easy mechanic, everybody kind of knows what to do. But that's our own fault, We kind of put ourselves in that position.
I wouldn't even necessarily call that a fault. I would just say that that's just being smart. That's using what your tools effectively. And I would say there are other things like the other supers. For instance, the self-res warlock. Him just coming back to life when the boss kills him is still using his super on the boss as much as the bubble is using their super on the boss.
Yeah, but that's fixing a mistake.
You could look at it that way, or you could put yourself out there to draw more of the fire to the point where you can't survive, but other people aren't taking the shots for those reasons because you can come back to life. Just like in the bubble in Oryx, when you go into the other dimension bubble. As a warlock, I try to make sure that if someone's going to get smashed in there, it's me, because I can come back to life, and that way he's not smashing someone who can't come back to life.
I want to share this story real quick. I know I've told it at least once on the show before, but I wanted to share it again because this fits into the conversation. The first time we were in Crota's End and we made it through the abyss, we kept dying at that platform where you had to wait for the bridge to form. And I noticed that once everyone died, then the bridge, it just automatically formed. Like it would always just trigger as soon as everyone would die. And so I had my Sunsinger ready to go, and I didn't tell anybody that I still had it because I didn't want them to know that I could just come back to life and help them, because what I wanted to do was finish that encounter. So as soon as everyone died, it said the bridge has formed. I came back to life and I booked it to the end, and that's how we defeated that first section. I betrayed everyone. I stayed dead. until everyone died, and then I resurrected myself, and I ran to the end, and I got the gauntlets for it. So you were there, Agrios. You were one of those people that I went through with.
Yeah, I've used a similar strategy many times, and I think it's all about like having to use things tactically as well as just for damage.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so do we want to get to some news before too long?
Yeah.
I hope Sharks is able to come back.
Yeah, I was kind of expecting him to come back. I was hoping he would come back before we dug into this, but
Hey, I think he's coming back right now.
Oh, speak of the devil.
Hi.
Glad you
Welcome
could
back.
rejoin us.
Yes.
Yeah, now it's working good too, so this is good. Sorry it took so long.
Okay. So, moving into the news, we have started our beta frenzy. They have let us. The preloads have started on the systems. If you have a code from GameStop or one of your other retailers that gave out codes, you can redeem that on Bungie.net for an actual console code now. And you can download the beta in its entirety and get to the loading screen and see the fancy new loading screen and hear the fancy new loading music. Have you guys managed to download it? Have you checked out the new music, the new loading screens? Are you guys all ready to go on your systems? Remy?
I did download it on both systems today. I haven't booted it up yet. I just I set it to downloading and then I walked away from it. I cleared my hard drive space. I put in my beta codes in Bungie.net, and then I'm downloading it. So I'm ready to go. I'll probably check out that loading screen at some point, maybe tonight after the show. Jez, are you ready to go?
Yeah.
Gray, are you ready to go?
So tonight I activated, or I put in my pre-order code and got my download key, and then I just loaded that into PSN. So I don't know, my PlayStation is in rest mode, so it might be downloading, but yeah, I haven't got to actually listen to the music or anything like that. I'm really excited to get it fired up though.
Excellent. Sharks, are you ready to go?
Ready to go? What? Is there something going on?
Not yet. Not yet.
Oh, no, it's going on. Okay, seriously. Like, it came on this morning, 10 o'clock, downloaded, and that screen stayed up all day long. I did nothing except for listening to that music all day long.
That's excellent.
Yeah, I streamed it for hours earlier, just the loading screen.
That's awesome.
Had a lot of comments, actually. Thanks for doing this. This is awesome. I actually got more viewers doing that than I had for most of my other recent streams.
I guess I kind of did lie. I was doing other stuff too. I did listen to the IGN videos with it on in the background, and we were helping Zombie this morning in chat with an issue. But yeah, that was my whole day, was sitting in front of this TV.
Excellent. So yeah, we're ready to go, Agrios.
So Bungie's told us that we'll get to bash enemies with our Sentinel shield, flip through the air while wielding our Arcstrider staff, and rain fire from above with our Dawn Blade. They also say that the beta will include the Striker, Gunslinger, and Voidwalker with all their grenades, melees, and the top path of their abilities unlocked. The bottom pass, however, will be saved for our experience in the full game. When asked about the Night Stalker, Mark Noseworthy said, "There are many things we are not going to announce or reveal before 9.6. We want the community to have new memories of discovery together." Bungie's being awful tight-lipped about even the existence of the Night Stalker, Sunbreaker, and Stormcaller subclasses. In you guys' opinion, do they still exist? Is there a new subclass altogether different that they haven't talked about yet? It seems an odd choice of words, or an odd decision to completely keep silence as to whether they're even there or not, if they are still there. What do you guys think, Remy?
I feel like this is a tease for something that exists. I almost feel like you don't tease that there will be new memories of discovery if what you're discovering is that there's nothing to discover. That seems a little that seems a little strange. Maybe not too strange for Bungie, but I feel like maybe we'll see a genesis of these ones. Like maybe they've rethought how these things work. Maybe there's something so revolutionary going on there that without if they were to reveal it, then we'd know something else that was happening. So I don't know. Sharks, did you have an opinion on this?
First off, I think it's awesome. I think everything is amazing with how little Bungie is letting out for D2. And I prefer them not showing us that third subclass that they have obviously revamped, just like they've revamped everything else. It's still going to be similar, but not exactly the same. And I don't want to see it. I'm glad. I'm really glad. I actually, even though I kind of wouldn't, I don't know. I kind of wish that we were only playing one subclass, but during the beta. But then again, that's probably not a smart thing to do. At least have two. But no, I have no issues with them doing what they're doing right now, as far as not showing us much.
So you're leaning toward it just being a tweaked, but still the same Night Stalker, as opposed to something completely almost not the same different.
No, it's not going to be completely different. I think it's going to be very similar. I mean, everything else has been very similar, so why would they change that drastically?
Gray?
I mean, I'm hoping, Remy, you hit the nail on the head in that there's something very integral in the story arc about those specific subclasses that's going to give the player experience that wow factor when they go through it, and they didn't want to let the cat out of the bag early or try to diminish that by letting us play it. I'm hoping that's what it is. I hope that worst case scenario is that they're just not ready and they're going to be released with the first expansion. That'd kind of stink. I don't think that's the case. I'm hoping it's the former and not the latter.
Definitely. Jez?
Yeah, I was gonna say, probably just going to be a DLC thing, or at least a time thing. Probably not a at launch thing.
I could see that. I could see them doing that because that's kind of what they did with Vanilla Destiny. They gave us two subclasses, and then at some point they opened up this third option. So I could definitely see that. And I don't think that I would hate that. I feel like as Destiny 2 launches, I'm looking at 6 different subclasses to play with right now as it is. So, why not save a little bit for later? Agrios?
I'm hoping. I'm figuring it's probably going to be what Shark said, but I'm hoping it's what you said. I think that it's going to be just tweaks. I'm hoping at least it's extreme tweaks, like what is happening to the Bubble Titan is no longer exactly a Bubble Titan anymore, and maybe that's where the Warlock and Hunter versatility supers will come in. Like maybe the Stormcaller is no longer so just a roaming blast, but an option of being able to send out charged melees, like more or less powerful charged melees over and over again, or some sort of defensive like static bubble or something like that can diffuse shots or something. You know what I mean? Definitely. So that's what I'm hoping, that it's something at least really drastic for at least 2 of the 3 classes. But I am concerned that it's just a matter of, you guys aren't allowed to say any words at all about these yet, so they literally just can't say anything about them yet when asked, and it's going to be just minor tweaks on the old subclasses.
Yeah.
I think people... I don't know. I don't want to say this as a whole, but I think people we're really hoping for just a straight out new fourth subclass, like something
Definitely.
completely different, a new element altogether. But how many times can they do that to the game over the course of the game's life cycle? How many new elements are they just going to come up with or add to the game, and how would that change the elements on guns and things? Where do you go with that? It's
Totally.
Complex issue.
I can see that. Yes.
So moving on, they did go into some known issues, some problems they already know to exist with the beta. They of course give the whole this is a beta build, expect things to be off and things to change, but they go deeper and to say that they will of course be testing the server stability throughout the beta. They did do this during the original beta. Like one of the days they were saying, hey, sorry guys, look out, we're going to hit you hard today, and errors galore. You're getting black screens kicked off every couple minutes, but that's what we're there for, to help them test. And they at least did give very good warnings when they were about to really mess with us in the original beta. The location names will sometimes not appear during Crucible gameplay. Players will sometimes be kicked to orbit after witnessing a black screen when entering a countdown match. Players will sometimes be placed at the beginning of the inverted spire strike activity when joining an in-progress one. The sandbox balancing is still taking place, and some weapons or abilities may have higher or lower damage than intended. And not all content has been localized in all languages, so some smaller countries might have some issues. Zimbabwe or some other tiny little countries, I imagine, are just going to have to deal with English. The Destiny 2 beta will end July 23rd at 9 p.m. Pacific, unless they pull some stuff. Remy, are they going to pull stuff? What do you want them to pull?
That's a great question. I understand, as I understand it, they will not be allowing us to explore on any of these areas. I feel like it's going to be okay, you can choose this strike, you can choose this mission, you can choose these Crucible options. I think it would be cool for them to open up an area to explore for, an hour, and then at that hour, just drop everybody off. I don't know that they're going to do that. I feel like they've got a really great hand right now. So much stuff they could have added to Destiny 1. They did not add to Destiny 1. So many things that as a gamer, I know that they also want to see in their game because I want to see it in their game. I feel like as far as being a gamer is concerned, what I want is what they want. What they want is what I want. And so I feel like right now they are holding all of the cards, and it would be really wise, I think, if they do in fact have, the full house or, whatever the equivalent is of the winning hand, why not save it just a couple more months? Why give away everything, especially when it backfired, in my opinion, so much in the original beta? I was so disappointed in what I saw in the original beta versus what I thought was going to be there. It's, it was I felt like it was foolish. I think I'm going to go back and listen to that episode of our show and see what I had to say about the size of the areas, because when I realized just how small the moon was, when I realized just how small Earth was, I was pretty disappointed. If they don't have something that's going to disappoint us because they realize that the size is huge, or that the content is that engaging, why not just hold on to it? Give us a chance to feel the game. Let us know that this is still Destiny. They've taken the time and they've taken the effort to really make a difference. I feel like I feel the difference when I'm watching gameplay of Destiny 2. I'm not playing it, but I feel like I can feel the difference in how everything moves and the shooting. And I have not picked up a controller yet, so I feel like that's what they're going to show us. This is still Destiny. But it's, a much more nuanced and refined version of what we know. And I feel like that's enough, really. I almost feel like they've spent too much time I feel like they almost are giving us too much time to do how little they've shown us. And I mean, I'm appreciative of that because I do want to try out all of the subclasses. But I think that it would just be smart. I think it would just be smart for them to give us what they've already shown us. Let us really feast on that, because as far as I can tell, everyone who's played Destiny 2 at this point is really hungry to play more based on what they've played. Give us the taste. Have us focus on these specific items for stress testing, for, where are people breaking out of the map? How are people doing this? Like, they need to really focus on these specific areas. I think it would be smart to just hold it. It's like Christmas. Like, do you want to open up a couple presents in July, or do you want to save it all for Christmas? Like, this is how this works. Sharks, what do you make of this?
Sorry, making of what? Of which part?
I don't know. Pick something.
I got a question for you guys who did, because I didn't do the Destiny 1 beta. Was everything unlocked on your character going right in, or did you have to rank up your character?
We started from the very beginning.
Okay.
Like,
and for you guys who were at the E3 and you got to play the game, was everything unlocked on your character for that event?
Yes. Well,
Okay.
I mean, everything to a certain point.
Yeah. What do you think? Do we know what we're getting? Or do we get a partial unlock? Do we have to start from square one?
Partial. They said it. They said it in the thing.
Well,
Yeah.
remember in Destiny 2, there's only like all your stuff, like all your selectable jumps and your grenade and your class ability. You can select between that, and then you also have the 2 blocks of things that encompass like the rest of your class, right? This is just saying that we're gonna have all of our jumps, all of our grenades, all of our special weapons unlocked, and the top one.
Right.
Well, they haven't clarified whether those were going to be already leveled up. They just said we'd have access to
unlocked.
them. So,
unlocked.
so
Yeah,
we
but I
may
don't
still
think
start
Gray-
with nothing and have to,
The way I'm understanding, Gray's not really questioning whether it's going to be done. It's going to be, will it be open, right?
My question is, how? So if you play all 6 characters and you want to play all 6 subclasses, and you want to play them to everything that they can possibly do, play with different builds, different settings, how much time in the beta do you think you're going to play to actually get to that point where you can?
It's
do that?
not that much. It goes up really fast because the whole tree. Well, I mean, like for the original beta, I'm gonna base it off of that because I can't base it off of D2. But the original beta, because the whole tree wasn't open, it was only the top line and part of the second. Is that how it was? I don't know. It's been so long.
it was the top 2 lines.
Yeah, I mean, so you only had to upgrade half of it, and so you would go in there and you would go and play Crucible, and then eventually that other perk was open, and at that point we didn't really even. I mean, most people were just so new at everything. It wasn't even that big of a deal. It would be different now with the way players are now, I think, going back, because it'd be like, oh, that perk's way better.
Now, in this beta, because of what we're limited to, there's not really too much of playing with different builds, because it's literally you have your build, and then you can choose between your grenade, choose between your class ability and jump, which are things that like you're just gonna switch on the fly whenever you need it, not so much a build.
Right. Besides your grenade, your jump, and your punch, you only have one decision to make. And on half of the subclasses, that decision's going to be taken away.
I feel like that's going to be all the classes. I don't think we're going to be able to play with both subclass.
Oh, no. See, I got the impression we were going to have both on the first one. Because why would they have just mentioned it for the second 3? That they seem very specific that we would only have the top set of abilities unlocked on the second 3. So I assumed we would have both sets of abilities on the first 3.
Additionally,
they
also said
away
that
too much.
they also said that this beta was not going to provide an actual representation of how we will be progressing in Destiny. So I feel like them having everything unlocked, like they're not going to have to worry about how much experience points to get to the next one. Just give us these options, these few
So you
options.
think that you're going to start with, okay, we need to define what we're talking about unlocked. Unlocked means unlocked and leveled up, or unlocked and you can level up into it?
Are you asking what we think?
Yeah, well, I'm saying when you say unlocked, Remy, in his conversation right now, when you say unlocked, do you mean unlocked as in already leveled up as well?
Yeah, I mean, like you're
Okay.
going to choose this subclass, and you're just going to have, you're going to have this section already ready to select.
So you think that we're not going to deal with experience points in the beta at all?
Yeah, I don't
I'm
think
thinking that the that might not even be experience points based in the full game. That it might be a story
That
thing.
was going to be my next question.
Oh, story
actually.
would be excellent, and that would explain why this is not be representative of our progression. If it is story based, you have to go do this story to get this jump or whatever.
There was some discussion as in the abilities having to be unlocked by getting artifacts to unlock them.
That sounds excellent. I'm way in on that. That sounds like exciting stuff. Although I will tell you that I am a fan of experience points. But I mean, once you hit level 20, once you hit level 40, it was almost meaningless. I mean, going around that leveling up. Sure, at some point you got 1 mote for doing it. Sure, at some point you got 5 motes for doing it. But I feel like it was relatively, it didn't mean anything. I mean, I wish it did. I wish that it was like Mass Effect 3, where every time you sent off another character, you leveled up this. This is level 389 or whatever. This is how many times I've been around the block. I wish that there was something like that, because that would show some kind of progression. But I don't know. I mean, all of these examples seem reasonable to me. Moving on.
So
Input?
yeah, so I think that we will see some examples of progression. Whereas if it does go to entirely to like an artifact unlocking sort of situation, I think that maybe we'll have certain things unlocked just because we're not going to do those missions. But like I feel like they're going to want to show us some example of how that progression is going to work in the final game.
Remember, they get around it by it being not representative.
Right. So we have Bungie Day to take place. We got a bunch of really sweet wallpapers. One of them depicted early on our Guardians in a parade, and the armor sets that we in fact have been shown off that will be starting the invasion in are actually called parade armor.
So maybe we're celebrating, and that's when the party poopers show up.
I told you a long time ago that it was going to
gorgeous,
be
Shark.
when we're at our most hubris.
Where's that
smart
from,
guy,
Sharks?
Jez. Yeah, where is that from, Sharks? That's fantastic.
That's from Bungie.
No, but where did you get it? From Bungie store?
I got it
Yeah,
from
they were
Bungie store. So
selling
this
lithographs.
week, it was on Bungie Day, I believe. They had a whole bunch of stuff for sale.
It's actually on sale till tomorrow still.
Okay, but I mean, they got in a whole bunch of stuff because, like, for instance, one of our clan members wanted the spicy ramen shirt and they couldn't get it because it was sold out, and so they went and ordered it on Bungie Day. Well, I ordered the Gaul shirt, and I opted to get this because I knew I would be pissed if I didn't have it, even though I couldn't afford it. So technically, my credit card bought it. But
How much was it?
It's $75.
Damn it, that's gorgeous.
But one of 150, and the only reason I'm showing
man.
is because you guys were talking about the parade. This is the parade that you guys were talking about.
Very cool. Thank you for sharing.
So we were in parade armor, and this seems to explain the initial setup for what's going on the day the invasion lands. Something else I saw noted on Reddit that I didn't realize, I was curious if you guys had noticed this, but in one of Destiny 2's trailers, there's a part, spoilers? Is it okay to talk about spoilers that are in trailers?
Do it.
Okay, so spoilers potentially, if you're actually dodging even trailers, this is in a trailer.
But, well, wait a minute, hold on. Isn't Gray trying to be spoiler-free? Or am I wrong?
No, it's fine. You can adulterate me.
Okay, this isn't anything from an extra IGN clip or anything like this. This is from a normal trailer. But there's
Find
a
out
shot
pretty
that
quickly.
briefly shows Cade sitting down with sparks shooting out of one of his legs, where it seems like one of his foot or his leg has been blown off. Had you guys
What?
noticed this?
What?
Yep.
Cade.
I did see somebody had mentioned this previously, and I I agree with their assessment. That is exactly what it looks like to me.
I agree.
So
yeah,
I
but
don't know.
that's not that big a deal. I mean,
Well, it's not.
Yeah.
It's cool.
shit, all he has to do is put on a Vex leg from Destiny 1.
That would be cool.
Ha! Cade 7? What?
I mean, has anyone gone back to the reveal event trailer where it showed Cade suspended on the planet, if he had a different foot or not?
Oh yeah, that's a good.
He
question.
does. He has a new foot.
He's got a red foot. You probably didn't notice,
No.
but he was red.
Ha!
You
That would
know,
be awesome to
Agrios,
know.
That's a Star
I
Wars joke.
I know.
really, really like the idea that we would see progression like that in characters. Cade 7, like that's
Well, that's what the numbers mean, right? That's
Well, no, that would
that's
be
their.
Cade 7 would be an entirely new rebuild of Cade.
but
Not a
won't
new
be his
foot.
brain in it, right?
Yeah, but it wouldn't be a new foot. It would
Oh
be an
well,
entire.
I'm saying, assuming that they have the tech to like just install a new foot back onto him, and he doesn't just wouldn't be easier just to download into one of his spares in the closet when he gets home.
So do the Exos remember their previous numbers? Like, does Cade 6 remember Cade 5 and everything that he does?
Yeah, that's just a way of them like that's like you keeping track of your days. That they're keeping track of their units. It's like just a sort of thing, like Saint 14 and.
They
whatnot.
do start to lose track after a while. Some of them do mention that they are starting to forget some of their older selves.
I mean, Banshee 44.
I mean, how well do you remember how? What?
Yeah.
Banshee 44? He's seen some action.
Yeah. But how well do you remember, like, the year or the whole year when you were 4 years old? Like, you lose this, your numbers after a while, too.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, going into more new reveal info, let's talk about some of the subclasses and their performance in the PvP arena. We got to see the new control and the changes made to it. The A and C flag are now automatically captured at the start of the match. And this will, of course, center the battle more around B. They showed us the new map, Endless Veil. Capping a flag's no longer a two-step system. There's no neutralization step before having to capture. It's just you hop on and it immediately starts to capture. The capture speed has been sped up and does not require multiple people on the flag for it to be faster. They don't want to force us to clump ourselves into danger as often as previously.
I like that.
I'm undecided on that. I think that's was a valid risk versus reward strategy that provided for interesting gameplay experience and tactic.
They did it for Remy. They did it so Remy wouldn't be pissed off every single episode saying, nobody ever captures the flag. I'm the only one capturing the flag.
And now I only have to be the only one capturing the flag.
Yep.
2 minutes, Agrios.
So the capture points are now transparent, and they have zone names on them in the HUD. The point system's been simplified. 1 kill equals 1 point for the team. Unless you hold 2 zones, then it's 2 points. Then 3 zones equals 3 points. The matches are a bit shorter. They'll run about 8 minutes long. The Mercy rule will be active in beta. Of course, it's 4v4 now. They have also added neon footprints to roaming supers. Like Arc Strider, for instance, leaves glowing blue footprints behind him.
That's sweet. That's super sweet.
Yeah, I like that.
As we spoke about earlier, for the Sentinel, holding the super button rather than pressing it will place the Word of Dawn instead of taking you into shield mode. It gives you, options and choices as far as that goes. The Titan Shield Wall, their class ability that they put up, slows enemies and damages them as they try to pass through it.
That's freaking cool.
We got to see lots of examples of different types of gameplay from the Striker and the Sentinel. We got to see shoulder charges. It appears to do about half damage to a Guardian at full health. A shoulder charge does at this point. We got to see a lot of different weapons in action in the PvP matches. There are definitely rifles and such that are similar to old favorites, like the Cocytus or the Tunella style, like scout rifles. And as Remy mentioned before, he saw the DIS somewhat styled rifles.
I'm so excited.
It definitely seems like, some old favorites will be returning. We got to see a double lightning grenade usage, so we know there's still a way to get 2 grenades as a Titan. It didn't look like there's armamentarium necessarily, but the
effects on those grenades look amazing too. I love how it closes in and then just excellent.
The Sentinel does appear to have a Void Wall grenade available to him. And we got to see a good bit of Dawn Blade play as well. We got to see they definitely still have the Firebolt grenade as previously. And it was noted that you can shoot while gliding with Wildfire in the list here. Now, does anybody know exactly what this is referring to? Because there's some video with it, but you know what they're referring to when they say Wildfire? That's something I wanted to ask you about.
Is Wildfire just hip shooting?
Well, I'm unclear. I'll have to look it up and get back to you more about that. I thought it was a mechanic with the Dawn Blade that I had not noticed before. But if you guys aren't familiar with it either, I'll have to look more into that. We also saw another new map called Vostok, and it appears to take place at Fell Winter's Peak. And what did you guys think of the new map layouts compared to the PvP maps in Destiny 1?
So if we're actually going to talk about this, I was going to leave this because we are overtime.
We are overtime.
And we should really cut off our podcast. But since you asked this question, I'm still going to talk about it next week. I love the new map. I love the map on Fell Winter's Peak. It's awesome. Can't wait to play it.
Right. You know what I hate is they revealed this, and then people in the comments are like, "Oh man, like the same Destiny 1 resources. I just want to reach through my screen and strangle these people." Obviously, they're not just reusing the same resources. That's
totally
stupid.
Different. It's totally different.
Do you want to mention though, Wildfire is this on the second passive tree for Warlocks. Dawnblade lets them throw grenades and fire weapons while gliding.
Oh, okay.
That's cool.
That's what it was. Okay, so yeah, it's an ability that we got to see demonstrated.
So our next podcast, we will have played this, and we will have actual playtime on all of this. I'm excited about that. Agrios, is there anything that you need to add before we split?
Last 2 things, super quick. They say the IGN guys said that as you advance your characters, you'll meet new story characters such as the elusive Hawthorne, and that there will be mini events allowing you to get special effects to stand out from the rest. This was
I'm
an
excited
interesting
about
statement that we can discuss further next week.
Right? If you played Halo Reach, it could be something like there was armor effects. There was one called Pestilence that kind of made you look like Pigpen. There was one where your armor kind of had this lightning going around it. These things would all be really cool.
I was going to say, and the final exciting thing that we can discuss further next week is Luke Smith was quoted as, "We tried to make a much tougher game."
I'm excited about that. I'm excited about all of this. I'm excited about talking about this from a first-person experience. I'm excited to get down to the nitty-gritty. Sorry, Agrios. Sorry we talked so long. That wasn't the news. I hate cutting you off.
Oh, that's okay. We just had a lot of juicy news this week.
That's true. And how cool was Goose? What a great guest to have on. I could really listen to him talk forever. He really actually reminded me a lot of Craig. And that guy is amazing. So, all right, why don't we do some shout outs, starting with Gray.
So my shout out goes to everybody who joined us on the Planet Destiny channel last night as we aired our first episode of Grenades and Horseshoes. Very positive, very fun group that was in the chat. And, anytime you're launching a new, product like that, you certainly have a level of nerves. And, you guys being so positive in the chat definitely ease those nerves and confirmed for us that while there's things we can certainly improve on, it's a good first effort. I think we're headed in the right direction. So I really appreciate it. Thank you guys.
Damn it, Gray. I'm so sad that we didn't get to talk about that. Like, I had a section in my notes where we were going to discuss that, and I was going to say how cool it was. And maybe we'll do that next week. Maybe we won't do that next week. Maybe we'll do that every week. I'm sorry that we didn't get around to that because it was fantastic. I loved everything that you did there, and I really feel like you've created something that just is not right now available in the community. So many people are focused on look how good my skills are, or even just look how bad my skills are. And I feel like you had elements of that, but I feel like the way you packaged it and the way you went about it was really it flowed naturally. It looked great. And you did a great job, and I'm glad that I was there, and I plan on being there every week because it's a fantastic show. And I want to make sure that people know that I have your back. People talking crap to you. It didn't happen, and it might not even happen. Everyone there was really supportive. So, but I got your back.
People were going crazy in chat. There's one person, because they were so busy with the show. This one person goes, "Oh, when did they record this?" And I was like, "This is live, dude." He's like, "No way! It's live? Wow!"
They were really impressed that you guys were so on top of interacting with the chat, which I feel, really brings people into the fold. It keeps them there. I didn't know it was going to be live. As a matter of fact, the first 15 minutes, I did not know it was live. I was like, how did Gray know that people are giving him hassle for there being only 3 hunters and not representing other things? Like, oh, you guys are doing that part live, and the rest of this that's fantastic. What you have there is great, and I'm sad we didn't get to talk about it for longer. And I know we're over time. So moving on, Sharks.
Okay, so partial shout out to Gray, Mark, and Una. Lala, be specific. I should be. Absolutely amazing show, and can't wait till some of that stuff comes on this show, Gray. Okay, and my other shout out goes to Nerdy Girl. She was one of the people at Guardian Con, and I couldn't get there, obviously, and I really wanted some stuff, and so she got me a beautiful extra watermelon. But what I really, really wanted was my favorite podcast that I'm not on, DCP. Got that. So pretty awesome. Thank you very much.
That's really excellent. Next year, Sharks. Next year, let's be there. Agrios.
So congratulations to the Grenades and Horseshoes guys on their first guys and gals on their first episode, and look forward to many more of those. My shout out, however, goes to Dakota Dark for helping to organize my team to get my Oryx challenge mode kill done on the last week that you were able to, and appreciate that, and all the other Guardians who came and helped me with that. And the Salt Queen, Aaron, Nerdy Girl, Nemo, Zombie Who, and a random guy. All there to help out. So big shout out to all them.
Excellent. Hopefully, shout out to Dakota Dark for in the future, hopefully getting me through this Wrath of the Machine heroic mode before the end of this week, because it is the last week and I do not have
I still need 3 adepts from that raid yet, so I need to get cracking too.
Let's make it happen. Jez.
Shout out this week to me not having any shout out this week.
That's been my favorite, I think, so far. Excellent job, Jez. Shout out to Jez not having a shout out. Okay, so first off, definitely Grenades and Horseshoes was fantastic. Mark and Unilala and Gray did an amazing job, and it was fantastic. But my shout out this week goes to Lowlines. It sounds like this person has been integral to so much of what's going on behind the scenes, and I wanted to give that person just the slightest bump up because Goose seemed to really hold them in high regards. So Lowlines, thank you for kicking ass behind the scenes. You're doing a great job, apparently, and quite obviously. So excellent. That wraps up episode 140. We would like to thank everyone listening for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed the show. If you have any suggestions for topics to be discussed on the show, or have any comments on something that has already been covered, please leave them in the comments below or send them to feedback@guardian1.net, and we will see you next week.